All right, here we go. Hey, so my name is Marlon Avery. I'm the CEO of a company called AI Impact. I teach artificial intelligence to organizations, governments, entrepreneurs and thought leaders and stuff like yourself. I've been doing this now for quite some time. You can go to the next slide. I've been doing this for quite some time and stuff now. So a little bit about myself. Go back one. A little bit about myself. I'm a software engineer at heart. One of my pros and cons is I can build anything I can think of. That's a pro. It's also a con because it can also become time consuming. One of my first kind of claim to fame was a sneaker app I built. I'm a big fan of sneakers like Aaron Jordan's, Nike's, LeBron's, and I wanted a way where I can view my sneaker collection and other people's collection on my phone. Funny enough, at that time, it wasn't a lot of applications or resources to know how to build these applications, even how to code. So I started this application around 2012. And, at that time, there's not a lot of online resources to learn how to code. From there, I built that. I quickly learned that I need to, learn more about how app companies should be ran. So I went to go set a goal to work at Uber. So I worked at Uber here in the Atlanta office, where I started on the support side, and eventually ended up on the Uber Eats team. Everything. During that process too, I'm a builder, I'm a creator. I see opportunities and stuff inside gaps. During this time, there's a Instagram comedian by the name of HaHa Davis. Some of you might have heard of him. He has his own wordplay, lingo, saying, and me and my friends will always kind of be texting each other his words and saying because we're like dying laughing. We know what it means. And so I'm sitting back. I said, man, he should have his own iOS text messaging platform. Shot him a DM, pitched it to him. They said, hey, we like it. What you want to do? I flew to Detroit. I said, hey, give me 60 days. I had no clue what to do, but I knew I could figure it out. So give me 60 days. I'll be able to figure it out. We launched the app on a Sunday, woke up that Thursday, and it was #1 app in the App Store for 6 weeks straight. It had bumped. It had bumped Black Panther. Black Panther just came out. It had bumped Black Panther #2. So after that, I worked at a various amount of ed tech companies like Treehouse, where I taught individuals who look like us and everything how to code in 8 to 10 months and placed them into apprenticeships at the end of it. A bigger ed tech company came calling by the name of Udacity, where I ran about 50% of the engineering courses over there. And then like Munson said, a good friend of mine by the name of Brian Brackeen came calling. He was starting a venture capital firm. It's the largest minority-owned venture capital firm based out of the Midwest. He said, hey, we need some help on the engineering side of stuff here with our internal products that we're building, but also too with the company stuff we invested in as well. So that company also has a non-profit extension to it. So they'll teach classes to entrepreneurs or anything to learn and get ready for them to pitch or to raise funding, whatever it may be. Leadership came to me and said, Marlon, these grants that we're writing is taking us some time. Can you help us out? We just got access to a platform called OpenAI. You might have heard of it. And I said, okay. All right, I should be able to figure it out. Again, having no clue what to do. What we end up building, this is GPT-2, GPT-3 days. What we end up building on the platform was the first AI on the platform. It's the first AI grant writer on the platform. And that was 4 years ago. Next slide. Go back. There's probably a small delay. All right, so what we're going to go through and stuff to here, I want to make sure that you understand, what AI is and what it isn't. Now we're going to go through some of the impacts that's happening in business, some of the impact that's happening on education, and I'm going to be very, 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 very transparent on what's to come. You can go next slide. Next slide. All right. So before I start, we've heard a lot of conversations, we've heard a lot of talk and stuff about that, but I want to hear from y'all real quick. What are some of your concerns right now with AI? Can't get ahead of it. Feel like we're always behind. What else? Integrity of the platforms. Absolutely. What else? Safety and security, elaborate. Okay. Data protection. What else? Ownership. Beautiful. What else? Bias in data. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Absolutely. What else? People start to think for themselves. Okay. What else? You said optimize. Absolutely. Here, let's go next slide. Make sure you click it one time. So, question for you, real quick. What innovation was created some time ago? It was blamed for the rise in crime. It was causing something called brain fever, and it was also blamed for destroying civil society. What was that invention? Internet, a little bit older. Radio, beautiful guess, a little bit older. Television, the engine, a little bit older than television. What else? Rock and roll, beautiful guess. Social media, a little bit older. Steam engine, beautiful guess. All right, all right, all right. Watch this, next slide. The elevator. Here's some news snippets and stuff for you and everything. It was blamed for a rise in crime because now it gave Bill on the street access to floor 17, like number 4. Rise of elevation, doctors couldn't understand at the time the current in movement. They thought it was going to be fatal. They call it brain fever. My point is, as human beings, we're always skeptical of new technology and new invention. Allow this to be your moment. Take your concerns. All your concerns are valid. Take your concerns. Allow it to be a yellow light and everything, but do not allow it to stop you. Because just like the elevator and everything, this is going to be with us, moving forward. Next slide. So, what is AI? Next slide. Next slide. Very simple definition. It is simply just a science and engineering making machines think and solve problems like humans do. That's the only thing this thing is. That's the only thing it's going to focus on. It's the only thing it's going to do. No matter how smart ChatGPT is, I'm not allowing it to drive me around. There's another AI that will be focused and stuff on that. Next slide. Oh, there we go. Brief history. Would you believe that they've been working on this since the 40s? First research paper that had mentioned neural networks and artificial intelligence was 1946. And then from there, we thought we was onto something. We thought we was making progress, which it was. We just didn't understand how long this stuff was going to take. We came to a place and everything around the 70s was the first AI winter, meaning over deliver, under promise. So we thought that we was kind of advancing very quickly to this space. And then it kind of dropped off. Also, next AI winter too happened in the 80s, too as well. One big moment that we thought was making extreme advance to was the Roomba. I said, okay, it is using artificial intelligence to understand how to get around the room. Don't run over the dog, get around that chair, still having trouble with that dresser, but it'll figure it out. So we thought we was making some advances there. It was. Again, we didn't understand how long it was going to take. Another big moment was Siri. Almost a decade later. Fun fact, Apple didn't invent Siri, they acquired it. And then kind of moving forward and everything from there, we see things like the Alexa and everything as well. 2017 was a crucial moment. Google did a research paper that was called Attention is All You Need. They introduced a thing called transformers. Typically how artificial intelligence receives and reads information, it typically will read it line by line like we do, which is fine, but it's also slow, at least for computers. Transformers, they said, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce these things and everything called agents. And from there, the paragraphs and stuff, and information I need to take in, I want you to read paragraph 1 through 7, 8 through 12, 13 through 22. And then y'all talk about what you read. Summarize. It's a lot faster. So from there, this is now where you're starting to see generative tools. Now you're starting to see your ChatGPTs. Because now the technology, now you have a large language model, which OpenAI did, they scraped the entire internet. 3 steps to building your own large language model is collect the data, which is them, copy and pasting the internet. Train the model, which is them, telling what different sectors of the text and stuff is. So this over here is recipes. These are lyrics. These are books, articles. And then from there, you have to fine tune the model. Make it even more defined. So those recipes that you have, the recipes over here, that's sweet potato pie. Typically feed bots, 6. Don't forget the nutmeg. Might want to add a little ice cream on the side. Now you're fine tuning. And that's why your OpenAIs can have such a beautiful back and forth conversation, because now it understands the text that you're asking for, even at a numerical standpoint. So, stages and stuff of AI, kind of where we are and stuff right now. Right now, we're at a place right now called narrow AI. Think about narrow AI as your task. Our ChatGPTs, our Perplexities, our Hugging Faces, all these different companies, they can help us with tasks. Email is a task. Writing a job description is a task. It can help us with tasks and everything. We're quickly advancing to a place and everything called general AI. Think of general AI as being your assistant. General AI will book your next date night. Book your plane ticket. Without any human in the loop. We're quickly advancing and stuff there. And then we're also approaching everything super AI, which is basically every category of artificial intelligence. It will have a deeper understanding than all human beings combined. We'll see what happens from there. Next slide. So, what does it look like as far as impact on the economic side? Let's do some comparisons and stuff real quick. The Industrial Revolution, during this time period, it was adding anywhere from a 0.7 increase to GDP annually. The Farming Revolution, aka the Green Revolution, was adding anywhere from a 0.3% increase to the GDP annually. And the Internet Revolution that we're living in today is adding around a 0.6% increase to GDP annually. Next slide. So, with any technology and stuff that we have, we go through this curve of, adopting it, accepting it. Happened with the internet. So the internet and everything came in the early 90s. Things like Amazon, launched in 1994, high peak. A lot of people remember the dot-com era, boom, the bubble, and then kind of things go down. And then start to come back up and everything. And so now we're at a place where we have our Twitters, our Facebook, our Google, and so on and so on. Next slide. Same thing happened with the cloud. The cloud and stuff when it came out was very, very expensive. Only large enterprises could afford it. Now you have access to your cloud, in your phone for 99 cents a month. Your iCloud, your Google Drives, these are aspects of the cloud. Next slide. And the same thing with the mobile device. There's a time period when the iPhone came out, you could scroll to the bottom of the App Store. And then from there, we start to see things kind of go through that same cycle. Now we have our DoorDashes, our Snapchats, and things stuff moving on from there. So, fun fact, let's say very quick. Something that we got to understand: technology never surpasses human adoption, at least on the consumer side. So as much as we build, grow, fine tune, all different things like that, it does not surpass human adoption. So comparison and stuff here, like I said, we got the internet. Look at this curve and stuff that went on. Same thing with the smartphone. Now you got things like ChatGPT, Bar, things like that. It seems like it's on a different curve. Any guesses why? Any thoughts of why it's on a different curve compared to the smartphone and internet? Teaching itself, okay. What else? Say it one time. So it's already been using the application before it came public? Yeah. What else? Faster adoption. Elaborate. Exactly. It's one of the first technologies and own technologies where the consumer has the opportunity to build with it. Internet, we didn't have that opportunity. Mobile and apps, we didn't have that. You had to be a software engineer or a company. Now, the ability to give it a prompt and create a book, article, company, documentation, and stuff, whatever it may be, we've never seen anything like this before. Comparison. How long did it take to get to 100 million users? Spotify, it took 11 years. Netflix, 10 years. Airbnb, 8 years. Twitter, 5 years. Facebook, 4.5 years. Dropbox, 4 years. WhatsApp, 3.5 years. Instagram, 2.5 years. TikTok, 9 months. ChatGPT, 60 days. Next slide. So, how's it going to impact business? How's it going to impact us and so business? Let's get into it. McKinsey & Company did an article a couple months ago, and they said generative AI is going to add anywhere from $2.6 trillion to $4.4 trillion to the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you right now, as a software engineer, practitioner in this space, I'm saying right now, there's grossly underestimated. It says it's going to fall in 4 categories. First one is customer operations. Think about your chat bots that you can build and everything on your site. You can have conversation and stuff with your consumer. So again, I mentioned that I teach workshops. In one of my workshops last Thursday, we had an individual who created a GPT on OpenAI, and then we showed her how to connect it to your Shopify store. What does that do? What happens when you're selling candles and stuff now? Now you're able to feed your knowledge base of your products. You're saying like, hey, this candle is for, birthday moments. This candle is for date night. This candle, is for special occasions. And you feed it to the AI. Now when your consumer comes along and say like, hey, first date coming over on a nice little vibe, you recommend some candles. Boom. Non-technical as well. Second category, they said marketing and sales. So think about your effective comms, conversion, retention rate. Third category, software engineering. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's not a day go by that I don't use it. I'm not building nothing from scratch anymore. Fourth category is kind of cut off and everything, but it's R&D. Up to $4.4 trillion. So some of the main benefits and everything that we can see and that we're already seeing and stuff within business. Fun fact, we're finishing up. We built an AI phone agent for a neurologist's office that completely takes over the phone line. Natural language conversation. They can also automatically transfer into Spanish. It can answer basic questions about the office, about the doctors, the nurses, and it does scheduling as well. So now when you're coming in and asking for a consultation, you're just like, hey, looking to come in next Tuesday, what do you guys have available? We're seeing this also type of innovation right now, even in the food industry. Checkers has adopted generative AI in the drive-thru. Wendy's has adopted as well. So efficiency, cost savings is another one. Improve consistency, higher quality in some areas, faster iteration as well, and definitely scalability. Next slide. So some of the use cases, I just gave you one, I can give you another one. About 8 months ago, I built my own AI email assistant. I don't like emails. I built them like 3 different ways. AI email assistant that basically I just created a free Gmail account. And once I get an email, I just forwarded the email to my AI email assistant's email. It reads it, text or HTML, drafts a response and send it back to me. Seconds. Some of the other use cases, everything, I mentioned the phone and stuff. One, we're seeing things and everything around like knowledge assist as well. So think about now, one of the things and stuff we're all been trying to figure out is like, is it going to replace us? For the most part, no. Some areas it will. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Some areas it will. But I can tell you this, an AI is not going to replace your doctor. An AI will not replace your doctor. But a doctor using AI will replace your doctor. University of Indiana was one of the first universities. They did a research and everything on different skin diseases. Doctors, your best doctors, have a 50% accuracy rate on skin disease. Tell them which time, just like from seeing. Now AI has like a 98% accuracy rate. So you want the doctor that's still squinting, trying to figure it out? Or you want the one who's using the tool? Next slide. Basically, what all this means, it becomes the ultimate assistant to all of us. Next slide. Real quick, there's a difference and everything with GPTs and everything and like things like assistants. Assistants and assistant APIs. So GPTs and everything, which if you have the pro version of OpenAI, the ChatGPT, you can build your own GPTs. So real quick, when they built ChatGPT, they built up a large language model like we talked about before. And so basically what they went very, very wide on information. GPTs allows them to go very, very deep in information. So now when individuals are building your own GPTs, I'm gonna tell you this as well, everything. I would today, because what they've said publicly is that they would do a revenue sharing model, everything, with popular GPTs, but they haven't declared what that means. So we don't know if it's like 90-10, their way, our way. We don't know if it's 70-30, 50-50. We don't know. So what I tell individuals, when you're building your GPTs, be task-minded. If you're gonna build a GPT, help it write your emails. Help it with your pitch decks. Help it summarize things. But every single person in this room, you have a special sauce that makes you you. Now, whatever you do, if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, it doesn't matter. Be careful of feeding it your secret sauce. This is why I start to teach and tell people and everything. Start getting a habit and thought process of building your own self into an AI version of you. You don't have to do that on top of OpenAI. I'll share some tools and stuff here in a second where you can do. Next slide. So on the GPT side, you don't need a couple things or anything, kind of like build your own GPTs and stuff if you want to. You just need a name, description, give it instructions. Tools is very, very interesting. So tools, it gives your GPT the ability to either code, understand knowledge that you may upload it, and functions, which means access to the internet. Anybody heard of Zapier? Make.com? Real quick, for the people who hasn't, give me a definition. What is Zapier? Say it again. It connects one platform to another. It allows multiple platforms to talk to each other. You know, so your Google Sheets can talk to your Instagram page. Everything. So typically you would have to build and communicate different APIs and build software to do this. Tools like Zapier, you don't have to do that. You can incorporate Zapier into your GPTs. So for example, I have a GPT that is an AI calendar assistant. It has access to my calendar, it can read my calendar, and it can make adjustments to my calendar. Also, it can recommend productivity recommendations. So maybe I'm trying to fit in to go play basketball. It can, give me some slots and stuff there. And also, too, it can email the people I may have a meeting coming up with, let them know I'm running late. Files as well. So be careful with these type of opportunities. Files, you can upload a file. So basically your knowledge base. I would upload, a couple hundred different examples of how I write emails for sure and everything. But I'm not sending particularly like a large proposal that I sent to somebody and everything, and they understand, that nuance. So be careful and stuff with files. Metadata you ain't got to worry about. Next slide. Here are some of the personal assistants I built. My man Taz. Taz is a tax AI assistant. It has the ability to read CSVs. It also too has the ability to incorporate, and it can incorporate into QuickBooks, which means it can read receipts. And we talked about knowledge base. It has a tax code embedded into it. So now I can just have natural conversations and everything, asking for recommendations of like, hey, can you make sure, I'm following guidelines stuff here. Hillman. Hillman is an advisor. Alberto is a legal advisor, and Adonis and everything is a health advisor. Go next slide. So remember I mentioned it's only 4 things that you need to do. You need to give it a name, description, and typically, you kind of give it access to tools. So we give it a name, we give it the description, and we get access to tools. So Task has the ability to code. It does retrieval, so it can read documents. So I can upload it CSVs, or I can just have it attached everything and go read, things like my Google Calendar. Next slide. Same thing with Alberto. Alberto is a legal AI assistant. Alberto is also based off a real person. So my real lawyer is named Alberto, and he gave me the privilege of giving me some of his past documents, so it learns. And so now when I have a question at 3 a.m., I may just ask him stuff here instead of texting him or emailing him. Same thing with Hillman, based off a real person. Hillman gave me the ability to give me some of his documents too as well, and then we start to build on top of it. Next slide. Education. Go next one. One of the biggest problems stuff that we're facing and stuff now, there's a research done by UNESCO Institute, and they said that teachers, they would need 69 million new teachers by 2030. due to the advancements of education and technology. I don't see how we're going to get there. But there's opportunities how we can bridge the gap. Next slide. Oh, there we go. So what are some things and stuff that AI can do stuff now? Personalized learning. So imagine you're trying to learn about quantum computing and it had all this difficult, documentation. Copy and paste and upload it and say, hey, I want you to explain this to me like I'm a fifth grader. It can do so. Send in the tutoring system, automatic grading. So real quick, the UAE, China, Saudi, Russia, Singapore, that's the other one. They're all working on this already. Where we're going to get to, where my vision stuff of it, we're going to get to is that adults, kids, everything will basically have digital learners. That doesn't mean it's going to replace teachers. That means teachers will have an AI assistant themselves, but also the students will have an AI assistant themselves. Now, how that plays out, it may still be in a classroom, or it may just be over the Apple Vision Pros. But those 5 countries are already working on it and stuff for sure. Next slide. Khan Academy. They developed one of the first AI assistant tutors. That one's public and stuff as well. Khan Academy is a platform where you can help you to learn how to code, do math, and a couple of different subjects and stuff now. Next slide. So, what's next? We're already in the AI revolution. Currently. It's going. It's happening, and it's happening fast. Give yourself grace, but also opportunity. It's okay that you don't know all the information and stuff, right now. But opportunity is to start today, because we have to. It is mandatory. This will be larger than the Industrial Revolution and the internet put together. The reason so is because the Industrial Revolution, it's scale, manufacturing. Artificial intelligence scales everything. There is not a category where it won't impact. From medical, to education, to enterprise, to music, there's not a category where it won't impact. I want you to start thinking about how to make your own self the AI version of you. There's something about you, why you got hired, how your creativity is. There's something about you that is extremely valuable to the world. And the way to even start now is start recording yourself. We do that now on Zoom, on Google Hangouts. Some of us might, do diaries, but now be more intentional about it. There's 2 sides of this. The one side is that I guarantee you that will become a business opportunity. Meaning, somebody will, based off what you're teaching and what you're talking about, somebody will want to subscribe to your AI to learn. I'll take it a step further. What if Munson now develops the AI version and stuff of him? Now Morehouse can tap into his AI via API and now build curriculum for business. Books, lectures. This is what we're quickly advancing to. And everybody in this room has the opportunity to participate and stuff in it. The other side of this is, as you're recording yourself, imagine your kids. have the opportunity to communicate to you 60 years from now, 100 years from now, your grandkids. What does that do for self-identity, especially for Black people? It gives us the opportunity, this technology gives us the opportunity to never have Black history rewritten ever again or eliminated. I challenge Morehouse, institutions, organizations, HBCUs. If you're not thinking about building as an organization like this, if you're not thinking about building your own large language model, you're already behind. I'm gonna say this, it's the first time I've ever said this publicly. Thank Monson for this. Let me go in depth of how impactful this is. They're rewriting the English language. That's what this is. What do you do with the English language? You write movies, lyrics, articles, recipes, books, laws. Everything moving forward will be built on top of a large language model. My concern is, where does that come into the Black community? We have to start thinking about these things, because I guarantee you our kids and our kids' kids and everything will be using or learning from somebody else's model. Janssen, the CEO in NVIDIA, has already instructed countries to start building your own large language model for your country in your language so you guys can advance and stuff in that area. This is why I say they're rewriting the English language. So again, start recording yourself. Start taking notes, your secret sauce, things you do. Figure out a way, and then I'll show you some tools in a second, to build their own AI version of you, but at the least, do it also too for your family. Because I still haven't received my grandmama's the cheese casserole recipe. Still waiting on that. Next slide. Like I said, we're quickly advancing and everything. Somebody asked a question earlier of like, hey, what are some of the skills and everything, things we can start doing, so we equip ourselves. Here we go. Start learning the basics of things like machine learning, neural networks, computer vision. These are like some of the foundations of AI. It's going to be overwhelming. It's supposed to. Implementation. Start looking at tools like this. We talked about already things like Zapier, Make.com. You can easily import your OpenAI's API and start building from there. You don't need to know how to code. Strategy, data skills, evaluation, design. All this is, Monson mentioned earlier about the Sora, the AI model that was created to create video, prompt to video. Here's some news for you. We're getting very, very good at prompt to text. We're getting very, very good at prompt to images. They just started prompt to video. Here's something else they just started. Prompt to music. Here's another one. Prompt to 3D. Here's another one. Prompt to game. All that means is we're shifting to a place where now skill set is going to be in partnership with creativity. How creative can we get? I don't know about y'all, but I don't know not a creative bunch more than the Black folks. This is the reset. Next slide. Oh, there we go. So some of the tools and stuff that I mentioned where you can get started today, things like Make.com, Zapier, There's also tools like Lane Flow. These are like drag and drop tools. It'll be a small learning curve and everything, but you guys can be able to figure it out. Things like Voice Flow, same thing. It's a drag and drop tool. And then with these things, you would need like your API, either, from Gemini or AI, Perplexity, one of these things. Pinecone is when you want to integrate like long-term memory. But OpenAI just announced like a week ago, they have memory and stuff involved, so you may not need Pinecone. Questions? So go back to the last slide. Yeah. Okay, go back. All right. Questions? Why you waiting on that?
Sorry. So what are you looking forward to most in these next few years as you're continuing to develop AI? Like, what's your focus?
Like me as an individual, or okay?
Both.
Yeah, me. I love the teaching aspect. Some of these things. Like I could honestly do this for the next decade because right now it's changing every 90 days. And so also too as well. For big companies, everything. Of what we need for generative is not cemented. It's not done. It's probably gonna be like another 2 years before it's completed, which means people will consistently kind of rebuild, and everything. And it gives me opportunity to do continuously education. For me personally, I enjoy the education standpoint of it. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah. I show it on the next slide in a second. Yeah. I saw another hand. What again?
So this is the World Orb, which is one of Sam Altman's projects. It's really here to serve like as like a UBI project. And I want to know kind of like your take on it. It's kind of purpose is kind of like the intersection between AI and crypto. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's meet right after and everything, and we can dive into it from there. Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot of funds available, and there appears to be a lot of funds. I hear people getting money from funds, but I want to start my own firm and get the funds started, and I want to start several firms. And where is the money at? How do I get $1 million? Tell me how to get the money.
I second the motion.
The reason I'm pausing because I want to be honest. Everything. Middle of a reset. So corporate. This is why you may see the things like DNI attack. Damon John, the CEO of Fubu, he said he's now seen it a lot more harder to just gain sponsorships. Everything's resetting. Everything. So it's challenging. Everything. There are Black focused funds. So like I used to work at one, like your Capital, anything like that. So 3 steps. Everything. MVP, customers, everything, and then focus on Black funds. So I know it's like a very, very general, output and everything and stuff with it. We can go in depth, but I also want to be transparent that it's not impossible, but it's difficult right now because everything's resetting. But also too, that gives us the ability and the thought and the focus to now get more creative. Because I don't know, but y'all, when we have less, we create more. And in a weird way, I really, really believe that this shift can be more impactful for us, everything, if we grab a hold of it more than anybody else. Yep. Yeah, let's wrap after that. Yeah, we'll talk more. Let's wrap after. What else? Let's have another hand. Yes, sir.
For someone that may not be as experienced with leveraging AI tools, what would you say is kind of like from like a product management or build standpoint? What would do you think is a time frame to be able to build something after you learn the key foundational components?
Yeah, don't think of it that way. You're already trying to rush the process.
Okay.
Let me tell you this. Take comfort in everybody figuring this out right now. You got your large urban companies, your Googles, your Metas, okay, yeah, for sure, everything. But across the board, even at the C-suite level, everybody's trying to figure this out. I'm having more conversations with CTOs and stuff now, and I'm thinking they're about to just run laps around me. I'm like, you guys are trying to figure this out too. I had a conversation with some people over at Pinterest. Everybody's trying to figure this out. It's extremely early. The analogy that I would give of where we are right now around a generative AI, this is the first iPhone. It wasn't until, where we at now, the 15, until we see things like Vision Pro. Everybody's trying to figure this out. Don't think you're, just late to the game and everything. This is literally the ending of round one. It's just getting started. Yes, sir. I think it's always easier to start with your ChatGPTs, Microsoft Copilot, things like that, because they have a good understanding of it. The most thing around it is spend time on the prompt and understanding how to talk to it versus even the output of such. The more time you put on that, the better output you get. Everything. Andre Karpathy, the co-founder of OpenAI, he also built the AI system for Tesla, said the new coding language now is English. What else? Things like lane flow, voice flow. Those are like drag and drop tools. You know what you can do. Zapier, you can do a lot. So with that, you can automate the entire CRM process from email to invoice. So it just kind of depends on, kind of where you want to be. Now, if you're trying to automate, creating custom jeans or something like that, okay, you'll need some work. You got to kind of figure it out in baby steps. Everything. But there's a lot you can get done on no code, low code platforms. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know, you said we were like ending at the first hour. I wanted to know, are there any investment opportunities or
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot right now. NVIDIA is really skyrocketed. It's right now it's still at the large scope of things, so now we're seeing like NVIDIA's, the Googles, the Microsofts, and there's a few other Reddit just announced they're about to go public, and they just made a partnership deal with Google, believe it was, everything. So it's still like the big players and stuff right now, but now you're about to start to see a lot more of these smaller players come into play because things are just growing so fast. Yeah, OpenAI definitely, and everything. Um, scale AI. No, is it scale? Stability AI. That's what it is. Stability AI. They're one of the first people to also too. That's the company I mentioned. They're doing the research on text to gaming as well. So those two, and also too, you have your things like Midjourney. Oh, actually, I'm glad you asked that question. For business owners, when you're using these images and everything from AI, understand that these companies have trained their model off of everybody's public images. There's an opportunity you can run into problems. Because if an artist or a company say like, hey, I can tell that this area, internet, you took my image, you can have a problem. The only platform right now where you won't have that problem is Adobe Firefly. Adobe Firefly. Adobe right now is the only company where they've trained their model off their own. So it can be used for business use cases. When you say protect, are you talking about on a copyright standpoint? Yeah, so it's tricky right now. The courts are still trying to figure it out. So, fun fact and stuff for you. Right now, if you have AI write you a book, you create a book and everything using artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, whatever it may be, and everything. So as you try to go copyright, the copyright office is going to ask you, did you use AI to do this? Everything. Your answer needs to be yes. Everything. They're going to ask you also what percentage and stuff of it too as well. As of right now, unless they change it for the next week or so and everything, as long as you edit, that copy, it's yours. But if you copy and paste the entire thing, you cannot copyright that. Anything else?
Yeah, from your perspective, I kind of saw some information about the CEO, Sam Altman, and OpenAI kind of going back and forth. And kind of, I don't know if he's left or was been asked to leave and then came back, and there was some scuttlebutt around that. Kind of, can you explain that and kind of from your perspective as an AI insider, kind of?
You mean like the leaving and return?
Yeah, kind of. I've heard rumors around it about integrity or just not him being afraid of having too much VC funds coming in at the wrong time, and kind of how that could potentially impact the growth of AI in the future.
I mean, they raised $10 billion from Microsoft. It's ego now.
Okay.
Now we're back to being human. I think it's just kind of simple as comes down to that. You have that much money floating around, somebody's gonna have a problem with something.
Gotcha. Okay. And then number two, you talked about building models. That's not a drag and drop situation, that's actually coding, or is that?
Yeah, because I mentioned from that standpoint and everything for like, institutions or organizations, because they may have the funds to do so, so you got platforms like now like Hugging Face, we can do so, Microsoft, you can do so too as well, building your own custom models. Also too, Meta did a sensational thing last year of open source Llama 2. We've never seen it before. Fun fact real quick too as well, if you are a company, institution, Morehouse, whatever they do, if you take Llama 2, because eventually what's going to happen is they're going to remove the license from it. If you take Llama 2 and you fine tune it for whatever use case that you want or need, that's yours. As long as you fine tune it, that is yours. So you didn't do the hard work and everything and the expensive work of building a large language model. You're just using somebody else's and fine tune it. If you do that, something like Llama 2 or another platform, that's yours. It's the model, and it's called Llama 2. So it's another large language model, just like OpenAI, that's public for people to use and build on top of. Yep, LLAMA. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, I saw another hand. All right, next slide. All right. So here's my QR code. You guys can scan. We do anything from consultations. We can help you build your own generative AI solutions, to as well. And then also to, everything, different workshops that I'm doing across the country, they're typically on my Instagram, as well. So again, guys, my name is Marlon Avery, CEO and founder of AI Impact. Appreciate y'all.